Hello, welcome to the Bible study session on Salt of the Earth, a part of the Living in the Image of God program of the Banking Blessings Ministry. My name is Goodluck Ofebu.
And I am Obi Ofebu. God creates every person to represent Him in interactions with others, to be for others what God would be for them if He lived with us in human form. He provides resources to empower every person to perform the responsibilities of representing Him among others.
Our program seeks to understand the meaning of living in the image of God, resources that God has provided to guide us, and human responsibilities and benefits of living in the image of God.
Let's dive right in to learn, taste, and share from God's message.
The salt of the earth analogy conveys a message that God creates every person with an intrinsic capability to represent Him in interactions with others.
Every person has the intrinsic capability to convey the presence of God and radiate His impact in human interactions.
Furthermore, every person can develop the potential by harnessing resources that God has provided to guide us in interactions with others.
The intrinsic capability to represent God in human interactions constitutes a person's human value before God.
We use the word godliness to describe the quality of representing the presence of God and radiating His impact in human interactions.
Godliness is the intrinsic value of a person in human interactions, as saltiness is the intrinsic value of salt in food.
Our study will be based on Matthew 5 verses 13 to 16.
Matthew chapter 5 verse 13. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything, except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot.
This passage uses the value of salt in food as an analogy for the value of a person in human interactions.
Saltiness describes the intrinsic value of salt in food, as godliness describes the intrinsic quality of a person to represent the presence of God and radiate His impact in human interactions. The
godliness in a person should become evident in human interactions.
Like saltiness of salt is evident when salt is used in food.
Godliness is intrinsic to a person and shows when the person interacts with others, like saltiness is intrinsic to salt and shows when salt is used in food.
Godliness in a person motivates others to be good and preserves their goodness.
Similar to saltiness of salt that enhances and preserves the goodness of food.
Godliness is intrinsic in a person because God creates every person with an intrinsic capability to represent Him in interactions with others.
Godliness of a person should be evident in human interactions through commitment to God's purpose and living according to the commitment.
A person committed to God's purpose seeks connection with God to receive and follow His guidance and direction.
Such a person seeks to represent God's presence and radiate His impact in human interactions.
And seeks to convey the image of God to others.
Matthew 5 verse 14. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden.
Matthew chapter 5 verse 15. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house.
Matthew 5 verse 16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven.
People feel or observe godliness in a person through positive impact that radiates from him or her.
The same way that light radiates from a light source.
Let your godliness be evident in your interactions with others, so they will be motivated to appreciate God and seek to interact the same with other people.
What did we learn in this Bible study?
Godliness is intrinsic in a person because God creates every person to represent His presence and radiate His impact in human interactions.
The godliness in a person becomes evident through commitment to God's purpose in human interactions and living according to the commitment.
Godliness motivates others to appreciate God
and stimulates them to seek to be good to others.
Please join us again in a continuing discussion of living in the image of God.
Thank you. God bless you.